In our younger years, existence was abundant with commotion. The atmosphere in the house was seldom tranquil. Children are playing energetically, phones are buzzing with calls, and friends are arriving unexpectedly. We were constantly engaged, perpetually offering and frequently agreeing. That was the cadence of that time, and we believed that was the essence of love, to be needed constantly. However, as time goes on, a change begins to occur. The frequency of phone calls has decreased. The house is quieter, and for the first time, that stillness does not evoke a sense of loneliness. It evokes a sense of tranquility. It's possible you've observed this on your own. It seems you may not feel as motivated to engage in social activities. You're taking your time before inviting guests over. Finding solace in your personal environment can be quite nurturing. And perhaps, just perhaps, you have begun to experience some feelings of guilt regarding that. You find yourself questioning, have I transformed beyond recognition? Am I feeling disconnected? But what if I suggested that this change is not a loss, but rather an opportunity for growth? Opting for solitude, particularly during this phase of your life, could very well be the most compassionate and empowering decision you have made for your own well-being. You are not becoming distant. Your understanding is sharpening. Today, I would like to engage in a conversation with you about this subtle change. Understanding its significance is essential, especially for women. We should not feel the need to apologize for seeking space, embracing stillness, or prioritizing peace over constant activity. Many people share similar experiences. Indeed, you are truly returning to your authentic self. That is indeed a significant achievement to acknowledge. We each unfold in our own unique way as time progresses. There exists a subtle reality about existence that often goes unspoken, especially not during our formative years. This is it. Our connections with others and our presence in relationships evolve over time. And that transformation is not something to feel embarrassed about. It is an aspect to comprehend, to respect, and perhaps even to embrace. During our 20s, 30s, and even into our 40s, our existence was deeply intertwined with others. We organized celebrations, festive gatherings, and family get-togethers. We engaged in community service at school, supported friends during challenging times, and ensured our home was consistently welcoming for guests. When an unexpected visitor arrived, we greeted them warmly, prepared some coffee, and created a welcoming space. That was the kind of women we were: supportive, trustworthy, compassionate, and profoundly engaged with the people in our surroundings. However, circumstances unfolded unexpectedly. As time passed, the children matured and established their own independence away from home. Some individuals have experienced the loss of partners, parents, or lifelong companions. There has been a noticeable change in our energy. Our focus shifted as well. Gradually, without any external validation, we began to yearn for a change. Not due to resentment nor from a lack of affection for others, but because we started to desire tranquility more than we desired achievement. A profound and serene sensation began to emerge within us. It's important to recognize that you have contributed significantly to the well-being of those around you. Now is the moment to reconnect with your true self. Perhaps you've experienced that same urge as well. Perhaps in recent times you discover yourself nestled in your preferred chair by the window, savoring a cup of tea in complete tranquility, and it brings you a sense of comfort. Perhaps you avoid large gatherings not due to being antisocial, but rather because you find small talk and noisy environments exhausting. Perhaps you find yourself avoiding every phone call now, not due to impoliteness, but because the quiet seems more comforting than engaging in dialogue. And perhaps, just perhaps, you have begun to experience a sense of guilt regarding all of that. I would like to express this openly. Choosing peace carries no burden of guilt. It is perfectly okay to require additional space. For many years, we have devoted ourselves to the needs of others. We were the heart of the household. We were the ones who kept track of birthdays, prepared the casseroles, sent thank you notes, and offered a listening ear when others needed to express their feelings. That is not an experience we should ever look back on with regret. It is an achievement worth celebrating. However, at this point in life, the dynamics shift. We are no longer expected to handle everything on our own. It's important to recognize that we don't have to occupy every moment, organize every gathering, or maintain every connection. It is essential for us to take time for rest, to engage in reflection, and to release what no longer serves us. This could result in a reduction of appointments and responsibilities. It could involve shutting the door more frequently and taking the time to be present with our own thoughts and feelings. That does not indicate a lack of strength. It reflects a deep understanding. Consider the process of flowers unfolding into their full beauty. Some unfurl confidently at once, basking in the warmth of the sun. Some individuals prefer to move at their own pace. They flourish in more tranquil times amidst cooler breezes and with minimal focus. They possess their own unique beauty, simply expressed in a different way. We are no different in this regard. In later life, there is a subtle yet profound unfolding that takes place. It is subtle and understated. It does not require recognition. It simply requires room to breathe. In that space, we start to reestablish a connection with an aspect of ourselves that has been quietly present in the background for many years. It's possible that you find yourself appreciating your own presence more than you have in the past. Engaging in more reading can be beneficial. You engage in reflective writing in your journal. You nurture your garden, your kitchen, or your beliefs. You have stepped back from the constant need to be in a hurry or to seek approval from others. You're discovering maybe for the first time that your time is truly yours to own. And that is not self-centered. That holds great significance. Our growth and development at 70 differs significantly from how we flourished at 30. However, that does not diminish the significance of the season. It enhances the significance as each moment is intentionally selected. Each visit, each call, each conversation grows in purpose. You are now prioritizing your own needs and desires over the expectations of others. Your journey is centered around finding your own tranquility. If you have been experiencing feelings of distance or uncertainty, and if you have questioned whether your desire for solitude is unusual or inappropriate, I encourage you to listen closely to this message. You are not retreating. You are undergoing a significant change. This is the phase of existence where understanding supersedes confusion, where tranquility takes the place of stress, where you ultimately have the opportunity to reflect not on what others require from you, but on what you require from yourself. What a truly beautiful inquiry that is. At times, refusing can be an act of compassion. There comes a moment in a woman's journey when her home transitions from a space for gatherings to a refuge for the soul. Transformation often occurs quietly without fanfare. It unfolds gradually in a subtle manner. One day you awaken to the realization that the excitement of preparing for visitors has faded away. The thought of someone stopping by, even if it's a close friend or neighbor, seems more draining than thrilling. For numerous individuals, this understanding prompts a profound inquiry. What occurred to me? Nothing has occurred to you, my dear. You have truly evolved into a deeper understanding of life. There is an understanding that not every opportunity should remain available indefinitely. We grew up in an era where the art of hospitality was intertwined with the ideals of femininity. We learned that a clean home, a friendly expression, and a brewed pot of coffee were expressions of affection. For a significant period, that was indeed the case. We invited individuals in not merely into our spaces, but into our moments, our vitality, our existence. However, circumstances have changed now. Our days unfold at a more measured pace. Our vitality holds greater significance. Our physical selves have changed over time, and so have our limits. That is not a setback. That is the essence of existence. That is a reality. It is important to acknowledge and respect that. Declining is not an act of dismissing others. It is a thoughtful act of self-care. Consider it from this perspective. Every affirmative response you offer now carries a price. It detracts from your relaxation. It draws from your tranquility. It interrupts the flow you have diligently established. When you express a preference for not having visitors today, it is not an act of rudeness. Being truthful fosters a sense of tranquility and harmony. Allow me to share a narrative with you. Eleanor, my friend is 75 years old. She is a type of individual who effortlessly organized Sunday dinners for a dozen guests without a second thought. Her home resonated with joy, the sound of dishes mingling, and the playful energy of children in motion. However, in recent years, she has taken a step back. She experiences increased discomfort in her joints. Her nights feel more uplifting. She realizes that even a brief visit can leave her feeling exhausted for days. Initially, she attempted to persevere. She continued to affirm, allowing others to enter her space. However, she observed something. She was starting to feel a sense of bitterness, not due to a lack of affection for her friends, but rather because she was compromising her own need for solitude. Thus, she arrived at a conclusion. When friends invite her over, she graciously responds, "I appreciate you, but how about we catch up over coffee at the cafe instead?" She reserves her home as a sanctuary for afternoon naps, cozy reading by the fire, and moments of quiet reflection leading to a greater sense of happiness. Her friendships remain intact, yet her stress is dissipated. The strength of a boundary established with care is truly remarkable. It's possible you find yourself in a similar situation at this moment. If that's the case, I'd like you to listen closely to this. There is no need to justify your limits to those who honor and value you. Not every appointment is essential. It is important to recognize that not every invitation requires a response of acceptance. Not every relationship requires the same level of attention and care indefinitely. As we evolve, so do our needs in the nature of the relationships we seek. Perhaps you would prefer to connect with someone through a serene stroll rather than welcoming them inside. Perhaps you would prefer to have a weekly phone conversation instead of hosting them every Sunday. That is perfectly fine. That is perfectly acceptable. That is how you safeguard your well-being, encompassing emotional, physical, and spiritual aspects. There's an additional thought I feel compelled to express as it often goes unspoken by many. Facilitating an event requires effort. It requires emotional investment. It requires a certain level of resilience. It requires extensive preparation and an even longer period for recuperation. Trust your body and your emotions when they signal that things are overwhelming. Pay attention to it. That inner voice is not a sign of fragility. It is insight. There is no award for being the most accessible woman in the space. There is no reward for depleting your energy in the pursuit of being accommodating. Yet there is tranquility in selecting what nourishes your spirit. Allow this to serve as your soft encouragement. It is possible to care for others profoundly while also setting boundaries to protect your own energy. You can support your friends while maintaining your personal boundaries. By safeguarding your environment, you can show respect for your existence. Because here lies a profound reality. Your home embodies more than mere physical space. Your essence, your passion, your refuge. Not everyone and not everything is intended to be welcomed in. Allow that truth to resonate profoundly within you. Allow it to serve as a reminder that you have the authority to prioritize tranquility and that at times declining can be an act of self-care rather than selfishness. At times it holds a profound significance. Three, as we mature, particularly for women, there is a shift that occurs when casual conversation takes on a more serious tone. We start to desire interactions that are genuine, not merely courteous, not just superficial, and definitely not exhausting. There was a time when our conversations flowed effortlessly, meandering through various subjects without a second thought. We possessed an abundance of energy. We shared moments of joy, we engaged in understanding, we connected deeply. Even when the dialogue shifted to gossip or tension that was simply the nature of the situation. We focused on those who sought our support even at the expense of our own tranquility. However, at this moment, there is a sense of change. It's possible that you tend to steer clear of social events with others. As you find yourself in a circle of women listening to familiar narratives and recurring grievances, you may quietly question your presence, not from a place of judgment, but rather from an awareness of the emotional toll these discussions can exert on you. Not every word elevates our spirits. Some just exhaust our emotional resources. Indeed, light conversation can take on a weighty nature when one's emotional reserves are depleted. I would like to share some insights about my neighbor Marion. At 78 years of age, she has spent the majority of her life serving as the connective force within her church community. Whenever someone felt the need to express their thoughts and feelings, they reached out to Marion. When a friend faced the challenges of a divorce or the loss of a loved one, Marion was the one who delivered comfort in the form of soup and offered her presence to listen. However, recently, Marion has undergone a transformation. One afternoon, she expressed to me, "I just cannot sit around and listen to everyone complain anymore. It weighs heavily on my heart. I take it all home with me, and it disrupts my sleep afterward." She looked me directly in the eye and said, "I long for genuine conversation, not the kind where we all attempt to outdo each other's issues, but the kind where we discuss what truly matters." That moment lingered in my mind because what Marion expressed resonates with many of us, yet remains unspoken by most. We are weary of going through the same patterns, discussing others, revisiting the past, or measuring the distance of our relationships. It is not that we lack concern. We are so invested in our feelings that we cannot continue to inflict pain on ourselves through meaningless conversations. As you grow older, the appreciation for quiet moments often outweighs the allure of empty chatter. You notice that your focus has shifted from hearing to truly seeing. There is no compulsion to interject, to resolve, or to clarify. Your desire is for tranquility. At times, safeguarding your tranquility may require creating space between yourself and those who cannot share in that serenity with you. And that is perfectly acceptable. Some women might express, "She has transformed. Let it be." Some friendships may fade over time. Allow them to proceed. When a connection relies on rumors for its existence, it cannot be considered a true friendship. It is a pattern of behavior. Habits can be changed when they no longer resonate positively within you. You are worthy of discussions that nourish your spirit rather than those that make you doubt your own worth. It is essential to surround yourself with individuals who communicate with compassion, who are inquisitive, and who engage fully in the moment. Not merely individuals seeking to release their burdens and depart feeling unencumbered while you remain with the load. Here lies a reality that often goes unspoken. Your well-being takes precedence over maintaining social niceties. That does not imply we should be unkind or distant. It simply indicates that we have the ability to choose carefully. If a particular event leaves you feeling depleted, it's perfectly acceptable to say no. If someone consistently brings negativity into your life, it may be beneficial to create some distance. When a dialogue becomes harmful, opting for silence is a valid choice. Not every situation warrants a response. Not everyone is entitled to your inner reflections. Your responsibility is not to engage with those who fail to honor your energy. It is not your responsibility to endure discussions that offer neither happiness nor understanding, merely distraction. You've accumulated a wealth of experience and insight, making it clear that it's time to stop feigning enjoyment in things that no longer bring you satisfaction. If you've noticed a shift towards being more reserved or introspective lately, try not to view that as an issue. View it as a step forward. You are evolving into your true self. You are beginning to recognize your own thoughts and feelings amidst the noise around you. And I want to emphasize your own voice holds great value. At times, the most impactful action is to remain silent, avoid conflict, refrain from justification, and simply offer a smile before moving on. Your presence is not a requirement for those who seek only your vitality without valuing your authenticity. It is perfectly acceptable to prioritize depth instead of distraction, significance rather than mere activity and tranquility over constant stimulation. And when you engage in this process, something truly remarkable unfolds. Those who genuinely care for you start to connect with you in that quiet space. They take their time alongside you. They communicate in a gentler manner. They pay closer attention. Those are the individuals who truly deserve to be in your inner circle. For the subtle burden of comparison, there exists a certain type of discomfort that often goes unspoken as it subtly makes its presence known. It does not come crashing in like sorrow or bereavement. It manifests in subtle instances, such as stepping into a friend's seemingly flawless home, listening to tales of another's grandchildren, and their frequent visits, or glancing at images of cheerful families and vacations on a phone display. We appreciate what we have. It's just that our feelings run deeper. At times, we experience a disconnect between our current reality and our aspirations for what it could become. The subtle discomfort within. That is an evaluation. For numerous older women, it tends to intensify as the years progress. In our younger years, the act of comparison often revolved around attire, professional paths, or the timely achievement of milestones by our children. We have been influenced to evaluate our worth in comparison to others, including our achievements, our living situations, and even our relationships. For years, we held on to that perspective, constantly questioning whether we were doing enough. However, in these more recent years, the comparisons evolve. It is not about who possesses the larger residence or the more luxurious vehicle. It revolves around those who continue to share their lives with a partner, those who enjoy good health, those whose children are close by, those whose grandchildren frequently come to visit, those who appear to be enveloped in affection, and those who find themselves in solitude more often than they care to acknowledge. Even with our understanding, even when we remind ourselves to avoid comparisons, our emotions still resonate with it. I would like to share some insights about my friend Shirley. At the age of 72, she resides in a humble apartment. Her daughter resides on the other side of the country, making visits infrequent. Shirley is not one to voice her grievances, yet I recall a moment after church when she expressed, "I love my life, I truly do." However, there are moments when I observe other women with their families, and I can't help but question if I made a mistake. She did not. However, the act of comparison often transforms the successes of others into our own insecurities. It's more than just family. At times, it can be related to financial matters. Upon visiting an old acquaintance, you may observe that their kitchen has undergone a transformation. Their wardrobe is refreshed, and their overall existence appears to have a certain luster that yours seems to lack. And even in their humility, even in their kindness, you sense that subtle ache, that quiet reminder of inadequacy. That whisper is deceptive. Here is what I have come to understand. Happiness cannot be quantified by the size of your home, your financial status, or the number of loved ones gathered at your table. Happiness is a gradual process that develops from within. It is not about what you possess. It revolves around the emotions and beliefs you cherish within. As we engage in constant comparison, it becomes increasingly challenging to appreciate the positive aspects of our lives. This is the reason that many older women tend to pull back from specific visits or gatherings, not out of jealousy, not from bitterness, but as a means of self-protection, because they understand that spending excessive time in an unsuitable environment can diminish their sense of self. They have invested significant time and effort in their personal growth to permit that to happen once more. There is nothing to feel embarrassed about in that. It's perfectly acceptable to pause and reassess when an environment no longer feels conducive to your well-being. It's perfectly acceptable to distance yourself from environments or individuals that lead you to doubt your value, as no one possesses the complete narrative of another person's journey. Not the sorrow hidden behind the smiles, not the anxiety masked by laughter, not the solitude lurking behind the gatherings. Each individual bears hidden burdens, and what appears to be an ideal existence from the outside can often feel quite different behind closed doors. Whenever you find yourself feeling inadequate, take a moment to reflect on this. You possess all that you need within you. Your narrative is significant. Your affection is significant. Your presence is significant. There is no necessity for competition. There is no necessity for comparison. And you absolutely should not continue to frequent environments that make you feel anything short of complete. It is perfectly acceptable for you to embrace a life of tranquility, simplicity, and autonomy. It's perfectly acceptable to appreciate your current situation without comparing it to someone else's journey. And if another person's life appears more vibrant, more dazzling, or more pronounced than yours, allow it to be. Extend your best wishes to them. Then return to your personal sanctuary at your own rhythm and embrace your tranquility. At this stage in life, true tranquility isn't about demonstrating anything. It involves releasing the distractions and affirming that this is my existence and it is sufficient. 5. Rediscovering happiness in peaceful solitude. There is something profoundly gentle, nearly sacred about awakening one day and discovering a genuine appreciation for your own presence. There's no need to hurry. You are not in a state of anticipation. You're not anxiously awaiting a call or a knock at the door. You're progressing in your own unique way. Deliberate calm, consistent. And within that cadence, a sense of tranquility emerges. That sensation that transcends solitude. That is isolation. It stands out as one of the most profound treasures of later life. For an extended period, numerous individuals found their identities shaped by those in their vicinity, be it their children, partners, neighbors, or their positions within the community. We were engaged frequently, challenged perpetually sought after, and that existence held its happiness. There is a profound strength in being the individual others rely on. However, it also carried a burden. For the first time, many of us are experiencing what it means to exist without the ongoing demands of others' expectations. Although it may seem strange initially, it can also bring a sense of liberation. The opportunity to dedicate a whole day to silence, should that be what your inner self requires. The ability to immerse oneself in a book without distractions. The ability to stroll and pause at your own discretion. Not due to another's fatigue, but rather out of a desire to appreciate the beauty of the flowers. The opportunity to create a serene atmosphere and prepare a delightful meal solely for your own enjoyment. Not from a sense of duty, but from a place of genuine affection. This type of liberation is subtle. It does not require focus. It has a gentle quality. It is soothing. It belongs to you. I would like to share some insights about my cousin Helen. At 81 years old, she resides in a modest home and expresses that this is the happiest she has ever felt. Each morning, she draws back her curtains, inviting the sunlight to fill her space. She nurtures the birds in her yard. She enjoys the soothing sounds of vintage records as she prepares breakfast. In the afternoon, she engages in the practice of writing letters, at times to family, at times to friends, and at times to herself. Helen shared with me, I anticipated feeling lonely when the house became quiet, but that hasn't been the case. I've never been more attuned to my own thoughts. I've never understood myself better. I believe that is the essence of the matter. When solitude is a choice rather than an imposition, it transforms into a realm where we reconnect with our true selves. The youthful self filled with dreams, the middle-aged self caught up in the busyness of life, and the present self now more grounded and wise, seeking tranquility and peace. This time offers us numerous possibilities for exploration and growth. We have the power to craft our narratives. Engaging in new learning experiences can bring us joy independent of any professional aspirations. We have the option to engage in prayer meditation, gardening, painting, or simply sitting in quiet contemplation beneath a tree. We can appreciate each cup of tea as a mindful ritual. We can step into the kitchen and bake, not due to an impending visit, but because the aroma evokes memories of our childhood. And there is no requirement for anyone's approval. This phase of existence is no longer about validation. It revolves around existence. Here is something significant to consider. Choosing solitude does not equate to isolating ourselves from the world. It signifies that we are making room for what is truly important. It is entirely possible to maintain profound affection for others, regardless of the frequency of our interactions. It is entirely possible to cultivate deep and meaningful connections without the need for frequent visits or daily communication. We can maintain our connection, but in a more nurturing way. Now, solitude is not merely a lack of connection. It is the existence of the self. When you begin to appreciate your own presence and cease relying on others to bring joy to your day, you start to realize that you are sufficient just as you are. Your reflections, your recollections, your happiness, your daily practices, they are not insignificant. They hold a profound significance. This is your moment to take a deeper breath, to embrace yourself in ways you may have overlooked, to inquire, what brings me tranquility, and then pursue that path unapologetically. This season is a reflection of your hard work and dedication. It is perfectly acceptable to take your time. It is perfectly acceptable to safeguard your well-being. It is perfectly acceptable to acknowledge that this day is mine. When someone inquires, don't you feel lonely? You can respond with a smile. No, I've found harmony within myself, and she's a delightful companion, offering a meaningful connection without any pressure. While we learn to appreciate solitude and become more at ease in our own presence, the reality remains that we still require the company of others. It remains essential for us to find joy, to express ourselves, and to connect through shared experiences with our loved ones. However, the distinction at this point is that we seek connection without feeling the weight of expectation. We desire connections that are effortless, rather than those that compel us to tidy up our emotions, conceal our true selves, or put on a facade of happiness that doesn't reflect our reality. We desire dialogues that allow us to pause, where we can express ourselves at a leisurely pace or choose silence instead. And understand that quietude is embraced. This is how connection manifests during this phase of existence. Not always present, but gentle. A number of women I know have begun engaging in something straightforward, yet insightful. Rather than welcoming others into their personal spaces, they prefer to gather at a cafe or take brief strolls in the park. They sit on a bench in the sunshine, share a muffin, sip their tea, and engage in meaningful conversation. Not the weather, not gossip, but the deeper aspects of existence: life, love, faith, regret, gratitude. There is a unique quality in connecting with someone free from the pressure of having to engage them. You're simply present with one another, only being here in the moment without the need for prior tidying or post-activity chores. Isn't that what we genuinely desire at this moment? Not an increase in numbers, but rather an abundance of serene moments shared with those who truly matter. Here's an important insight that every woman should be aware of. Being a good friend doesn't require constant availability. It's not necessary to respond to every call at your door to demonstrate your concern. There is no requirement for you to entertain or seek approval from others. It's important to engage fully and authentically, ensuring that your presence is genuine and heartfelt rather than merely a matter of obligation. If you find yourself grappling with feelings of guilt, questioning whether you are distancing yourself too much, or worrying about how others perceive your space, I encourage you to listen closely to this message. You have the freedom to alter your approach to connection. You have the freedom to express, let's gather outdoors instead. You can communicate, I'm not feeling up to a visit this week, but you're on my mind. It's perfectly acceptable to care for others from a compassionate distance without needing to justify or apologize for it. Relationships grounded in genuine affection will foster understanding, while those that place excessive demands on you may not be as nurturing as they appear. At this point, your well-being takes precedence. Your rest, your habits, your vitality, your tranquility, and no relationship or gathering is worth compromising any of that. Instead, embrace the flow that resonates with you. Perhaps it signifies a reduction in social commitments and an increase in tranquil mornings. Perhaps it signifies surrounding yourself with individuals who elevate your mood. Perhaps it signifies reaching out to someone once a month rather than daily. That is sufficient. You possess all that you need within yourself. It's important to release the burden of trying to maintain pace. It's time to embrace the changes and let go of the expectations of who we used to be 2 decades ago. It's time to focus on our own priorities rather than conforming to someone else's schedule. Instead, let us embrace a lifestyle that aligns with our true feelings. If you continue to find joy in visits, that's wonderful. If you choose not to, that's perfectly fine as well. If you feel inclined to enjoy dancing with your friends at the community center on Thursdays, go ahead and embrace that opportunity. Choosing to spend your time at home with your kid and knitting these is a valid and fulfilling way to live your life. What is essential is that you make deliberate choices in your life, safeguard your happiness, pay attention to your inner desires, and most importantly, recognize that your worth is not defined by your level of busyness. One does not need to be in the company of others to experience love. One can find fulfillment without the need for social interactions. Embrace your authentic self. That woman, the one who has experienced life, faced challenges, found joy, shed tears, gained wisdom, and evolved. She is already more than sufficient. Here is my heartfelt wish for you. Wishing you relationships filled with warmth and positivity. May your limits be respected. Wishing you moments that are serene, uncomplicated, and authentically your own. And may you always keep in mind that you are not diminishing. You are evolving into your truest self like never before. I appreciate you taking the time to be here with me. If this message resonated with you, consider sharing it with a sister, a friend, or someone dear to you. And keep in mind, you are always supported on this path. At Wise Elders Insight, we respect your insights, your decisions, and your tranquility.